Welcome into the Beat Sessions, your place for all things music. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. In the studio with me today is Mr. Jaffe. Welcome in, my friend. It's great to see you. We were just talking about his new puppy, 8-month-old. What's the breed?
She's a mixed terrier that I got her at the shelter. That was what her mom was. She came in all prego, and then they don't know what the dad was. So she's yeah, she's definitely a terrier, but she's a good dog. I got her to be my road dog. So come with me when I travel. She just turned 8 months.
I was gonna say, Jaffe, do you still have the same rig when you were here visiting me, or have you?
No, that I think the last time I saw you, I had the van, huh? I had a
Yes, you.
1997 Pleasureway van. That thing was
I mean, it,
that
it
was
did the
fun.
job. It was pretty cool, man. I thought it was a good rig,
Yeah.
but you've upgraded.
Yeah,
What
it
are you doing
was.
now?
Well, I've upgraded and then downgraded. I upgraded to a class C a few years ago and was traveling around in that big beast. And then I got stuck. I got landlocked in Idaho for a hot minute, and I ended up having to sell it. And then I got a pop up last summer for some ungodly reason, and then I upgraded to this Flagstaff E Pro, which is a single axle travel trailer, and yeah, it's good. It's just enough room for me and the puppy.
And I was gonna say, and it's beautiful where you're at. Whereabouts is that? Just so the viewers got an idea of that beautiful scenery they're checking out.
I'm actually north of Idaho City in Idaho, so southern Idaho, but north of no north of the cities, Boise and stuff like that. So sorry, I keep looking around to make sure she's not getting into shit.
No, man, you're all good. You're all good. Let's get into this, man. I really only know about you because we worked together for a brief period of time. I don't
Yeah.
know. Let's open up talking about just kind of your background as far as like I know that you're a writer. I know that you're a producer. I know that you pretty much are kind of the complete package when it comes to music, man. Give us a kind of an idea of like what your beginnings were and how those have evolved up to this point in your career.
Yeah. How far back do you want to go?
Let's go back to the beginnings, man. I mean, I don't know if I really know, like, because we've talked a lot, but I don't know if I know exactly, like, I mean, if it was like a band that you started off in or like a particular instrument that you started playing where you were younger. I actually don't know, man.
Sure. Yeah. So, um, in fourth grade, my grandma bought my mom a piano because my mom kind of played the piano when she was younger. So she bought a piano, and that same year, a movie called uh, uh, oh my God, Chariots of Fire came out,
Oh my god, it's one of my
and
favorites.
there was a soundtrack by a guy named Vangelis,
Yep.
and it's a very iconic soundtrack. It's a very iconic song, and I sounded it out on the piano. And as soon as I did that, my parents were like, "Oh, well, you're gonna take piano lessons." So I fought and I fought, and I took piano lessons for 3 years. I want to say, yeah, probably 3 years. Uh, and then just kind of gave it up. Uh, Piano wasn't really something that you played, and had friends at the same time. So, I mean, nowadays, it's a little bit different story. But when I was growing up, piano was still kind of frowned upon, with the tough kids that I hung out with. So, which funny enough, one on one, those tough kids were like, "Ooh, play some piano. That stuff's cool." But when they were in a big group, they're like, "You're so stupid. Play the piano." Whatever. Anyway, so um, and then I got into in like high school. A friend of mine turned me on to an artist named David Lance, who was in the same vein as Vangelis and stuff. It was like new age piano is what it was called back then
All
when
right.
new age was a thing. And so lots of speed playing, lots of triplets, lots of utilizing the whole keyboard. So I started. I just realized I've been looking at myself this whole time for this interview instead of the camera. So yeah.
No, it's
Um,
all good, man. I feel like it's good practice for both of us because as much as I want to look
right.
down and just, I mean, I haven't seen you in forever, and now I just have to ignore you and look at this damn thing.
um. So anyway, yeah. So I started playing that, and I really got into the piano and playing it more, and then uh took a kind of a hiatus, joined the military, went down to the military, and I went down to Fort Hood, Texas, and that took me to Austin. And at the time, Austin was really, it was the early 90s. So Seattle had just blown up. Austin was blowing up, but Austin was a lot more eclectic on the musical offerings it had. Seattle was kind of known for one thing.
I still feel
And
like that's kind of the case to this day. Still, I feel like Austin definitely
eh,
has much more
yeah,
diversity.
yeah, a lot more diverse. And sorry. And hold on. Let me get this out of the way just so you guys can see her. So you know what
there, she,
I keep looking at.
there
I,
she is,
okay. Her name is Winifred. She's a good girl.
Winifred the
Yes.
Terrier. Thanks for
Yeah.
showing up.
Um, she used to have all these eyebrows that kind of went over and all this great hair on her face. And I took her to the groomer and I said, just right here under her eyes, just cut that. And I got there and they cut her
That's
all the hair on her
oh
face. I was so
no.
pissed. She's still cute though. Okay.
That's what.
Anyway, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just say that's what Hufflepuff, short hair. Me, I'm a short hair. We don't have to deal with any of those disappointments because I hear those stories a lot.
Yeah.
Showed up and just like, what the hell did you do to my dog?
Yeah. Oh man.
Uh,
But so anyway, so Austin, I started playing. Actually, was really hesitant to play down there. Because again, I was hanging out with all the tough kids, and uh, there was a big resurgence of the swing movement and the greasers, the rockabilly and stuff like that, and it was
yeah,
really prevalent down there, and I was kind of part of that whole thing, um, and it turns out that piano players were in pretty freaking high demand down. Can we cuss on this? I don't know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
Okay.
good. Yeah.
So they're in pretty high demand down there, and man, as soon as people caught wind that I was a piano player, I was playing all over the place, and I really, really, I learned so much because I was playing in punk bands, I was playing in ska bands, I was playing in swing bands, I was playing in country bands, I was playing in like old country bands, not like not that
Kind of like
modern
that.
country, but
Kind of like that barroom piano style, maybe a little bit.
yeah, yeah,
All right.
and uh just yeah, I went all over the place, and then people were introducing me to all kinds of music that I'd never heard in my life, and so I started playing a lot of that, a lot of jump blues, and um a lot of the like Professor Longhair stuff from the 20s and 30s, and in fact, the punk band, one of the punk bands I was in, Barley Pop, um uh we would, in between songs, I would play some Professor Longhair, and the audience ate it up, but they were always just like very confused as to what was happening at this punk show. They got done beating each other up, and then they were like, wait a minute, is this some old Southern piano playing? What's going on here? And
Well,
but
you know what, I love that because like I've been to quite a few punk shows. It was, I mean, coming up as a teenager, like it was my scene. Fat Records and Epitaph and all those labels and those bands. And there were so many shows that I would go to where, in between sets while the different band was setting up, the other one was breaking down. Yeah, they'd play like Otis Redding, or they'd play like, like they'd come out with like soul and R&B and just all this music that wasn't even in line with what punk rock is. But I mean, I love that. I think it just, it adds more character and it showcases the
yeah.
fact that yeah, I think most musicians have a respect for just about anything that's good out there, right?
Oh yeah.
But it's are we able to I'm kind of curious about that punk band that you were in. Are we able to stream any of their music? Because like I would just love to hear what you're doing on the piano and those compositions.
Well, I played on a B3 and
Okay.
as a Hammond B3, and I had a Leslie. If anybody doesn't know what a Leslie is, it's a speaker cabinet, and the speaker spins around 360, and it's what gives that B3 that what's that rotating. Why it's hard to explain what that sound is, but it's very, very distinct.
It's a
It
cool
was a
effect.
heavy, heavy son of a bitch to carry around. Same with that B3, but yeah. So I was playing some old soul uh organ in a punk band, and it worked. It worked well. Um, I had a piano that I would play on intermittently. Sorry, I'm just making sure she's not trying to run into traffic.
No, you're good, man.
Not that there's traffic out here, but you know what I mean. Uh, so um, yeah, Barley Pop. In fact, I left Austin right before we were going to go into the studio. So I don't, there might be something filmed from us back in the day if somebody happened to have a camcorder. This was in the 90s, so there are no cell phones. People didn't have a video camera with them when they played. So I don't know. There might be something, but I doubt it. Um,
It's an interesting point you bring up because it's definitely going to lead into our conversation throughout this talk, just as far as the way that you've utilized technology in the creation of your music. And I'm also like curious when we get to it, what your thoughts are as far as like the positives and the negatives.
oh, sure.
But yeah, man, it's wild to think about just how new all this is, and especially you talk about filming live shows, streaming services. I mean, there's so many bands that I remember listening to or like hearing about, but never got a chance to listen to because friends didn't own CDs or they weren't being played on the radio. There was a number of different variables that I feel limited exposure to music. So I mean, I definitely, there's a lot of bands that I talk about now on the channel that, they're bands that I've only been listening to for maybe 5-10 years that have been around for 30-40 years.
Oh yeah, yeah. One of my favorite bands has been uh, around for 25 years or something, and I just started listening to them a few years ago, and it's
Who's
like, oh yeah. But that's the same thing with a lot of bands. You hear uh like, oh, this band's a breakout, they haven't paid their dues or something, where they came from nowhere. Where are these guys? And suddenly they're an overnight success. And it's like, actually, they've been playing for 15 years. They just happen to write a song that seems really good at this point in their career, but they've got 6 albums under their belt. So, you know, uh, that happens
as
a
a,
lot.
I was gonna say as a fan, because it's something I've been thinking about a lot too. Manic Street Preachers is the one that comes to mind for me immediately. A band that I really just honestly like within the last 5-6 years started listening to a lot. But I think I wonder had I don't know if my interest would have necessarily been in the band like going through their evolution, their career so to speak, versus having this big old catalog of music that I can dive into and just explore and have fun with.
Yeah.
Like what are your thoughts on that? I mean, your favorite bands, are they bands that you've been following your entire life, or I mean, are they bands that you just stumble across or get a recommendation from a friend and you're like, oh man, and just kind of slip into an obsession with them at that point?
My favorite bands are actually bands that I've been following my whole life. My sister turned me on to my all-time favorite band. Um, she made me a mixtape. Actually, she didn't make me a mixtape. She made me a tape of their album, and it's Pink Floyd and the Final Cut, and it's still my favorite album of all time. It's one of their underrated albums. You kind of have to be a true fan to appreciate it. It's a real showcase on his writing, his lyricism. And by him, I mean Roger Waters.
Mhm.
And I've been following them for, well, since I can remember. So 84, 85. Um, and then when I was in high school, the grunge era hit, and I wasn't really big on like Soundgarden or Nirvana, who's like the grunge band. But and I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for this, but I always do. I'm a huge fan of Pearl Jam, and
I love Pearl Jam.
I think Eddie's. I think his lyricism and his writing style is fantastic as well. And I have a great story about meeting Pearl Jam and Roger Waters all on the same night. It was fantastic. But
No way.
um, we I'll tell you real fast. I won't give you the build up.
No, please do. Yeah.
So Roger Waters was on his wall tour, and this was like 2000 and well, we went and saw him in Tacoma do the wall, and then a few years later he played in Seattle performing the wall. And my wife at the time, her best friend's dad was a roadie with him, with Roger Waters. So we got like 12 rows back on the floor, and since we'd already seen him perform it way back, which is amazing, it was cool to be up really up close and see everything from there. Well, during intermission, we had actually gotten backstage passes, which was really cool. We didn't know that we were getting those. So we go backstage. There's nobody back there, and this guy walks in with all these gorgeous, like supermodel girls, and my wife starts bumping me, and she's like, "Look, look." And I looked, and I like, I don't get it. And then he started talking, and I go, "Oh my God, he sounds just like himself." And it was Eddie Vedder. And and uh and Jeff Ament, who he was my favorite member of that band, he'd been sitting on the couch the whole time, and he'd been staring at me like he wanted to be friends. And I was just like, who's this fucking weird dude staring at me? Because he wasn't wearing his like iconic hat or anything like that. You know, I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody that's a fan of the Pearl Jam knows that Jeff Ament, their bass player, they always wear a big top hat kind of thing. And um anyway, so we went over and started talking to Eddie, and he was, he's like, "Have you guys seen this before?" And we said, "Oh yeah, we saw him in Tacoma." He's like, "Yeah, that's when I saw him before too. It blew my head off. It was so amazing." And so we were having a really nice conversation, uh and then somebody came up and was like, "Oh my God, you're Eddie Vedder," and blah blah blah. And you could just see Eddie's eyes, and we were like, "We'll talk to you later, dude." And he was like, "Oh, please don't, please don't leave
Oh,
me."
no.
So
Just
we walked
fanboyed you
away,
right
but
out of your conversation.
yeah. So then the lights flashed for intermission to go back to our seats. So we're following Pearl Jam. The only person that wasn't there, Mike McCready was running back and forth back there, but I'd seen Mike McCready numerous times because I was living in Seattle at the time, and he shows up everywhere. The only person that wasn't there was oh my God, I can't think of their other guitar player's name.
Stone
Anyway, he
Gossard.
wasn't there. Yes, Stone wasn't there.
Yep.
But Stone lived not too far away from me in Seattle anyway, so we'd see him every now and then. But what was I saying? Oh, so we're going back to our seats. Well, we're actually following Pearl Jam back to our seats. Turns out that we'd been sitting next to them the whole time, watching the show. But we're watching the show. We're not looking to our right to see who's sitting next to us. But so we ended up watching the last half of the wall performed by Roger Waters with Pearl Jam. So
That's
it was a
sick. And hopefully,
glorious day for me.
hopefully you had a chance to pick up the rest of that conversation at some point afterwards, get a beer.
I did not. I did not.
Oh man.
They got the hell out of there, which is completely understand. I mean, it's Seattle, Eddie can't. I mean, he can't function there without 50,000 people going, "Hey, you." So,
Oh, I can't even
um,
imagine. Yeah.
but it was nice. It was nice meeting him. And uh, Roger Waters didn't come backstage. He has a separate backstage. I don't know if you just knew this about him, but he has a separate backstage where veterans of wars, they're invited to come back and hang out with him.
That's awesome.
That you can't go back there unless you're a veteran. He's got the whole front row of his shows is for like disabled veterans and all that. They get like special treatment all the way. And so we got to see his band. We got to meet his band. And the guy playing guitar for him, I can't think of his name right now. Was this amazing guitar player that's played with everybody. But yeah, so we didn't get to meet Roger Waters that night, but you know, I got to meet Pearl Jam. So
It's dude, that's a great story, man. Just like
hey,
just turning to the side, and you're like, oh, it's Pearl Jam. How cool is that?
and I really, I mean, I living in Austin. you learn really quickly how not to fanboy out.
Oh yeah.
Um, because you just see so many famous people there all the time. Back in the 90s, it was, you know, it just and I was lucky enough, like I played in a country band and I played with a guy named Mike Blue, who was a well-known guitar player for for country royalty for Waylon and Willie and Cash and all them and he was, I mean, he was famous in his own right, and he was always hanging out with somebody that was country famous, and it was just nothing. It was not a big deal to walk in and see Willie Nelson sitting there and having a beer, and you're just like, okay. But and then the movie industry moved down to Austin, and so you're running into those kind of famous people all the time. Nick Cage
Oh
used to
yeah.
hang out in one of the bars that I worked at all the time because you could smoke weed in the back. And yeah, and uh, yeah, so it was you learned really quick not to really give a shit because those people were just they're just normal people,
And they're
really.
just and
And
they're just everywhere. I mean, probably just
yeah,
be tired freaking out every time you saw someone that you
yeah,
admired.
yeah.
Speaking
So
of people that we admire, you got a new EP out entitled Heroes. It's
mm,
this is your debut studio EP. It's very cool. I'm super pumped that you were able to get this project out because you've been making music for quite a long time. Like you've passed me off tracks when we were getting to know each other, when we were working with each other. So to be able to see you actually finally do this, and with the record label that's just really damn cool, Wayfarer. Let's talk about
mhm.
them, and then we'll talk about Heroes. I feel like there's obviously the angle of promotion, and there's certain other things that go along with being a part of a label that certainly make it exciting. But talk to me, before joining Wayfarer and making music prior to that, like what was it about that record label that made you want to jump aboard? Because still I still feel like you have enough of a skill set to where you could have you could have still recorded your own music, put together the artwork, put it out there, all of these things. I will say that Dieter, the cover that he did for you, is pretty exceptional. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, no, it's a cool cover. He's the one of the owners of the label, and he when I was putting out the EP, he just sent me a message. We have a Discord server that we're all on, and he just sent me like a whole bunch of preliminary images, and he's like, "Hey," I was like, "Oh, you guys do art for us? Okay, that's less work I have to do." And he is boy, some of the stuff he sent, I was questioning who he was as a human being. But it wasn't bad. It was just weirdly bizarre, um, and not bizarre in the cool way. Like the album cover I have now is just bizarre. I love him though. He's awesome. He does some amazing artwork. He does most of the artwork for the artists on the label, and so anytime. In fact, a guy named JJRD just released an album called Mirror Mirror. Uh, it's releases tomorrow. And the album art is fantastic. It's just fucking awesome. So, um, anyway, what was your question?
So, just what was your angle with getting involved with Wayfair?
Oh, okay.
When I know that, I mean, if I feel like if you wanted to, I mean, obviously there's, like I said, there's the promotional aspect. There's like, I know you are an artist, but like I said, I think Dieter's cover is really cool. Aside from all these amenities, like what specifically was it about Wayfair that made you want to get involved with that outfit?
Um, I really appreciate what Sean and Dieter are doing. I mean, there's a whole bunch of others that are behind the scenes, but the two main cats are Sean and Dieter, and um, those two come from the music industry, and they've been doing it for so long. I mean, the list of people that Sean's played bass for is ridiculous. I mean, it could fill up a book. And
This is Dieter Spears and Sean O'Brien Smith that we're talking about,
that's
by the
right.
way,
Yeah,
just so
sorry.
you can look those people up. I should have mentioned it
Uh,
too.
no, that's all right. Um, yeah, my a good friend of mine who's really who was spent a lot of years being really, really big in the dance club scene as a DJ and a remixer and stuff. Remixed for like Cher and Britney and all those, those big name divas, and he was remixing their songs for the clubs and stuff. Um, he introduced me to Sean, and I mean, we hit it off personality wise really well, but when he started explaining to me what they were trying to do, so what they're trying to do, um, well, and what they are doing is, um, they're making it more of a collective. They're focusing more on collaboration and the artists really being like a family without saying family. Excuse me. It's I likened it to this when I first started with them. I likened it to like Death Row Records and like the rap records of the early 90s, mid 90s, where everybody played on everybody's album. And if somebody had a new hit, they would all gather around and listen to their new stuff. And it was very much a family, and that's one of the reasons you had the big feuds and stuff like that, because it's that gang mentality and the family mentality. Gang mentality is a family mentality if you really think about it. So
Yeah.
and so that's kind of what they're trying to do, not gang mentality, but family mentality. And with no drive-bys here at Wayfair, that I'm aware of. It may, I mean, if we go down that route, the ambient musicians are a pretty violent crew.
Pretty tough,
Um,
pretty tough gang of people to work with.
yeah. Um, but he was explaining what it was they were really trying to do, and he brought me into their Discord server, and everybody's got access to it, and they're very welcoming, and everybody's really open, and I mean, I'm sitting there chatting with people that are multi Grammy award winners and platinum album holders, and they're just like you and me, but you know uh
They're
they're
definitely more
very
talented than
into
me.
they're very into
Definitely more talented than
working
me.
with each other. It's I mean, we have a channel that's just called Collaboration, and I mean, my I was there for 2 days, and I was already getting hit up by people that are 6,000 times more talented than I could ever be, and asking my opinion on some of the stuff they're working on, and asking me if I can, throw in a little bit of piano for them here or there. And it's just like, okay, yeah, I love that. And so, um, yeah, sorry, I keep going off camera here. Uh,
Very good, man.
so yeah, Sean explained that what they were going for, and you know, I'm I'm almost 50 years old, and I don't have the dream of like being a rock star anymore. I don't want to tour, and you
Yeah.
don't tour playing this kind of music. Nobody wants to go to an ambient concert because you'd have to have the seats should be able to fold flat so you could go to sleep. But
Or other things.
yeah, oh yeah, that too. Uh,
Maybe a good light show.
R&B ambient.
Uh,
Mm. Anyway, so it's just the opportunity, and they're not. They're not big on the whole they've been in the industry so long that they're really trying to they know what not to do. And so they're
yeah,
trying to change the game a little bit. A lot of the industry labels are still stuck in sales and things like that, and haven't really jumped on to understanding how streaming works, and of course how streaming fucks over artists hardcore.
yeah.
There's just a huge lawsuit going on right now with Spotify and stuff like that for artists to actually get paid for their music. But uh, and that's what Sean and Dieter were really trying to do, is trying to basically create a new system that's up to date with the way society's going, as far as how we listen to music and how we gather music and how we you know um find out about new music and that kind of stuff. And It's funny because we're all I'm one of the youngest guys there. We've got people that have been doing it for so long, and they're in their 50s, 60s, and they're more ahead of the game than some of the younger people that are breaking into with these old school labels. And so yeah, uh, I think I can focus on the music and I can focus on collaborating, and that's what really drew me to it. I'm not trying to get rich anymore. You know, I'm not trying
Just
to
do what you
be
love.
a yeah professional
Do you
musician.
do
Sorry.
you guys put does the record label put physical copies of music out? Like, are you guys pressing stuff on wax? Because
Nope.
and that's what I was thinking, and I would love to be able to dabble with that. But also, when I think about it, I feel like ambient music is one of those genres that really benefits from the continuity that you can create with a streaming service. You can just
Yeah.
press play and have that continuous experience for 30, 40, 50 minutes, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't. I mean, we have the option to press, but it's all on us.
Yeah.
The mentality of the label is, why are they going to invest thousands of dollars in CDs or in vinyl and stuff when people don't buy music anymore? They like people do, but not like they don't buy physical media like they used to. And
Yeah.
there's just no money in it. You lose money in it. More than anything, because people can, I mean, even buying the album digitally, people don't do that as much anymore either because of the streaming services, Apple Music and Amazon Music and Spotify. You could pay a monthly subscription, listen to all the music you want, and you can hear full albums, and you don't need to buy albums anymore. So album sales are not really, it's not a thing anymore. So having physical media, you know
It is great to see the shift that I don't. Did we have a chance to go to Zia Records when you were down here? I don't know if we did or not. I don't think we
I
did.
don't I don't know. That
But
was so long ago.
I mean, it was great to see them make the shift. They basically got rid of all the CDs, all the used stuff that was in there. I mean, you go in there and it basically is a record store now. I mean, they sell movies and they sell comic books and they do other things, but when it comes to music, they basically have committed what physical space they have to wax. And I dig that. I think that to your point, it is a sacrifice, and I keep my fingers crossed that they're constantly doing well. It's not really something I bring up when I go in there once a week because frankly, it's none of my business really, like how your business is doing. But I do know that, like I will go out of my way to make that drive and to support my favorite local record store, with the hope that, some of that money finds its way into artists' pockets a little more than maybe streaming services, and that, those venues can stay alive as well. There's actually Casa Video that's right. I would say it's maybe a half a mile from where Zia is, and it's one of like the last remaining video stores that you can go to in the country. It's crazy, and I do love what they did as far as um, you know building out a bar inside of the spot and
Mm.
creating that demand to get in there. And it almost kind of feels like the videos are a secondary element. It's like, hey, let's go hang out, and while we're at it, we can hit the nostalgia and like rent a DVD. If anybody even has a DVD player anymore.
Yeah, I know, right?
Which, I mean, if they started renting DVD players, they might actually. It's been a minute since I've dipped in there, but that would be smart too. It's just like, hey, we got this relic here. Like, throw down a little deposit. You get that back when you come back, and enjoy whatever movie you got. But I know that the frustration, and what I think is cool about a spot like that is that if you want to enjoy a film, I mean, oftentimes you got to hit up like 4, 5, 6 different streaming services. And I also feel like they're pretty packed with TV now. It's like the focus is more on the show than an actual
Mhm.
film. They're out there, but you could easily end up spending $100 a month just to have access to the movies that you want versus just owning a physical copy that you can continue to rewatch over and over again if it's something that you love.
Sure.
Um, It's interesting. It's interesting seeing how fast that all hit. You brought up your time in Austin, and I want to bridge this gap. Wayfarer, the record label that we've been talking about, everyone is focused on ambient and electronic music, cinematic music as well, if I'm correct there.
Mhm.
When did this turn happen for you in your career? When did that interest and talent in the piano kind of take that turn into creating more formless ambient structures?
Well, I mean, I've been playing so ambient, it's called ambient now, but the reality of it is it used to be called new age. And new age just kind of took a turn for, oh God, new age music. Ugh, but ambient, in fact, ambient is kind of going away. They're calling it like relaxation music now or something like that.
All right.
But um
I feel like
uh
adult contemporary has that stigma as well, and it's
yeah,
crazy how much of that sound you're hearing in new music these days. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
digress. I interrupted you.
No, so I've always been playing that kind of music, and I have a couple self-produced albums from back in like 2000, and one of them called Goodnight Winter is it's all piano and it's just very mellow, and I mean it would be considered ambient at this point too, but so I've always been playing that with on my own.
We'll raise a little
There,
toast to you on this one here.
thanks.
We'll say cheers to the Heroes EP.
Thanks.
Um, so I asked you some brief questions before it came out. We were just kind of talking about a little bit what the project is like. You said it was a lot like kind of like John Hughes inspired 80s cinematic feel. And
No, that's some of the stuff that I'm working on.
that's some of the new stuff that you're
No,
working
yeah,
on.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. I was confused then because I wasn't really seeing that so much, but
No.
it's a great EP. Four really solid tracks. I think your cover of Heroes, David Bowie's Heroes, is phenomenal there at the end. And I really liked the incorporation of Alan Watts into the two tracks that it's tracks 1 and track 3
Mhm.
that are on the EP. Talk to me about that. Like what was kind of the inspiration for playing with the vocal element in the stylings of this particular project?
Sure. One of the like some of the music that I like to listen to, like some of the EDM stuff, mellow EDM stuff. But there's an artist, and I can't think of his name right now, who put out a track with utilizing some Alan Watts stuff. And I was like, who is that talking? This is like his voice is incredible.
His voice is
And
awesome.
yeah, so I I sought him out and I found one of his talks that he gave in like Palm Springs years and years and years ago. And it was like an hour and a half, 2 hour long talk. And so I just grabbed it and started cutting it up and adding some music to it. And I took the stuff that he was saying and basically tried to condense it by cutting it up and really used them as like lyrics. So my songwriting, when I'm writing with lyrics, which I did for years and years and years, um, uh, that's how I usually would write a song. I'd put chords and the lyrics down. I'd be writing them at the same time. Sometimes I just write the lyrics and figure out the chord structures later. And that's kind of what I did with Alan Watts stuff. Is I cut his stuff down to what I thought would be good lyrics for a song, and then really started writing the music to it. And that's kind of what I did. Both songs are from the same talk. They're just, you know, 30, 40 minutes apart, but um, there's kind of an overarching theme on them if you really give them both a listen. Um, Although Alan Watts, all of his talks are an overarching theme. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how I did it with that. Was I really focused on making them a song with the lyrics being written already.
I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on the title of that particular talk, but I think my favorite thing about his angle, and I think this is a pretty common thing with a lot of his material, but I think he has that ability to kind of make you tap into acknowledging how insignificant you are in like in the grand spectrum of the universe, but like how that's okay, and how
Mhm.
I love the idea, his quote of, the key to living is just being alive, and he talks about people just overthinking things too much and trying to, pursue ambitions that are just so outside of what is possible for them, as opposed to just waking up every day and just being thankful that you're here and that there's air in your lungs and that you can just look around and, like, I know the world is a complicated and oftentimes really terrible place, but I think it's also full of beauty. And I think it's just essential to kind of create this transcendental mindset of being able to dish off the bad stuff into your peripheral. And it's important to pay attention, but to keep your focus every day on what is good in the world, and just trying to, I don't know, like, just to walk a positive line every single day when you get out of bed. I love that about those talks, and I don't know if that, what was, I guess, your particular angle with those talks and the type of music, because I will say that 256 watts, the opening tracks, is kind of a banger, man. It's definitely kind of more into that, like, I would say it's more into kind of that, like, electronic realm versus ambient. It has those qualities, no doubt,
Sure.
but I mean, I think it just, you come out just ripping on this thing, and I love it for that reason.
Oh, thank you. I just the truth of it is, no Alan Watts pun intended, but the truth of it is I just took what he was saying and put what I thought was appropriate music to it. Like, kind of the same way I do any of my writing with lyrics, is just I think this is what goes with this. It wasn't there was no destination in mind for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
This was I wrote that song. In fact, I wrote every song on that EP before Wayfarer. Um, and so in fact, a couple years before Wayfarer. So again, I was all over the place musically. I was really getting into the digital world and not so much, the live world, which I had been a part of for so long. And a lot of it was just figuring stuff out and what sounded good to me. And so I was experimenting with different kinds of music. Um, from dance, from EDM, from hip hop, from ambient, all that stuff. So yeah, both those Alan Watts songs are just kind of the music and the beat just kind of came based on what I was hearing him say, and that's where it comes from.
You were joking about me asking about your process, but I want to bring that up again because, um like, I did the review, and you were like, man, you were really thoughtful about that in a lot of ways that it just didn't occur to me. And I love that about the style of music that you're doing and the style of music that Wayfarer artists are throwing out there, because I think you really do leave a lot of room for interpretation. I mean, do you have, like, kind of like a starting point that you always like to begin with when you're writing a song? Or is it just like when inspiration strikes you and you just kind of go with whatever you're feeling as far as putting together a composition?
I mean, it depends. And I think what I said to you was, you put more thought into my music than I did.
that is that is that is what you said. Oh my goodness.
um, uh, uh, no, it depends. It depends. Sometimes I've been inspirational. I think or inspired. My last big band that I was part of was called Malachi, and I was in 2006. 6. And I wrote almost all the songs on there, and I had a theme. I had, oh God, she got herself locked up again. I had a theme that I was going for. It was supposed to be 4 albums. Unfortunately, we disbanded ways after that first one. But so there's a story in there. And so when I was writing, I was definitely trying to tell a story, and I was telling it through the lyrics, but also through the music as well. Because not only the lyrics are telling the story, but the music's got to tell it too. You can't have a song about solemnity, and then suddenly it's some dance hit. It's just like, it doesn't really work, especially when you're trying to tell a story. So there she is.
Do you need to take a second? Are you good?
No, 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 she's back there. You can see her.
Oh yeah,
She got
perfect.
herself unhooked. um but so it just depends. Some of the stuff that I write now or I've written, um there is like a very thoughtful process going into it. Some of it is just spaghetti. I'm just throwing it at the wall, and I'm like, oh, hey, that sounds all right. And it doesn't mean that I won't give it less attention than something that I'm putting my thoughts in, really putting a lot of thought into. If I throw something at the wall and it sticks, I'm just not going to give you raw spaghetti, cooked spaghetti. I'm going to give you the sauce and the meatballs, and I'll give you everything. I just, the start of the song may just be different than how I do other things. So I'm all over the place.
Talk
Is
to
that-
no, it's I mean, I love that. I was also curious about your thoughts on like shifting into this new terrain. Your thoughts on the ability for musicians to use so many electronic devices and elements now as far as the creation of music. Do you think that music is headed into into good territory with all this? I mean, do you think it's detrimental in some ways? I mean, what are your thoughts as a whole on, I guess, like kind of like the current state of music with what you're doing and even outside with some of the stuff that you enjoy in different genres?
Um, I had a pretty profound thought few weeks ago, and I even shared this with my fellow wayfarers. But coming from the live music world, some of them don't. Some of them have never played live in their lives. They've always been studio musicians and done stuff like that. So, the reality is, I was speaking to just a kind of a select few fellow artists, but I was thinking that the digital world has, with the new DAWs and plugins and all that stuff, has made me lazy as a musician. And I put that
Interesting.
out there. And because I came from the world where you write a song and you have to remember it. And you have to be able to play it front to back to front. And you're out there live playing it, and you have to rehearse it over and over and over again. When you're in a band, everybody's got their parts, and they all have to know their parts, and everybody's got to play it, and they have to know the song as a whole, as well as where their parts fit into it. And um so that's the world that I lived in for so long. And so writing a song took a long time. It's like, oh, there's my hook. Okay, well, how do I get into that? And where do I go from here? And where's the bridge at? And what am I doing next? And I had to play it over and over and over and over again so that I could remember it. And the same with lyrics. If I'm writing lyrics, doesn't mean I remember them. So I have to memorize the lyrics, and where do they fit in the song, and how do they work, and what emotion is expressed through that lyric. And that's how a song can evolve and change over time through, you're playing it live so many times, and you start playing a little bit different every other time. And it evolves into something that wasn't the original song. And that's why a lot of bands that back in the day, they'd put out a song, and it'd be all heavily produced, and then you go see them live, and you're like, wow, they don't sound anything like their album.
Nothing.
And it's
Yeah.
like, it's because it's two different things. And that there was a few bands back in those days that really sounded like their studio albums, and the reason is because they sounded like that no matter where they were at, and they just went in the studio, and here's our song, and they record it just like they're playing it live. And so they sound. I think Huey Lewis and the News is a good example. That band still to this day sounds just as good live as they did on any of their recordings. They're just they're so well rehearsed, and so, but a lot of bands aren't like that anymore. And
I love
um,
that you use them as an example because I think they're one of those bands that gets overlooked and maybe doesn't get taken as serious as they maybe should be. Uh, they're a phenomenal outfit. I love Huey Lewis and the News.
oh yeah, 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 just fantastic band. I went and saw a number of years ago their 20th anniversary of Sports. They played at the there's in Seattle. There's a stage at the zoo.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got all these animals nearby, and there's a freaking live music venue right there. And yeah, they sounded phenomenal. So anyway, so I posed that question. I said, has this, has the digital world made me lazy? Because I find a hook, I have to play it once. I don't ever have to play it again because I can loop it and I can move it and put it where I want in the song. Same
Yeah.
with the bass lines, same with the lyrics. I mean, Heroes is a perfect example. I recorded the lyrics to Heroes on a little mic right here. I was trying to sing quietly because I didn't want other people hearing me. And I I didn't like the way that I sung the end of the verse, which I repeat. And all I did was just, instead of recording it over and over and over again until I liked it, I just cut it and moved it, copied it, pasted it, copied it, pasted it. So it's the exact same, and I didn't really have to work for it, if that makes sense. Like I didn't have to get my vocals to get in order. And so that I posed that question at people, and some people got it and some people didn't. And it just became a thing. And then I started putting more thought into it, and I realized, oh, somebody's saying hello.
Yeah. Hufflepuff. Come here, bud.
Um, so I
Huff, come here, buddy.
realized, you want me to pause?
No, no, you're all good. Go for it.
So I realized that, instead of thinking that it's made me lazy, why don't I actually just work with the tools and take that mentality of the live mentality and say, hey, you know what? I don't have to know this song front and back anymore. I'm never going to play it live. We already talked about that. I don't go on tour. I don't need to go on tour. I just need to put out good music. And if there's an opportunity now with modern technology to take shortcuts, and that means I can spend more time making a really solid hook, as it were, or a really solid bridge, and then figure out how to tie it in together without stressing about, oh god, all right, I gotta play it all over again. In fact, when I recorded Goodnight Lander, I was on a DSR-1 Yamaha, and there was no ability to punch in. It was a digital recorder. It was like one of the very first digital recorders.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't punch in. So I had to play this whole song front to back. And if I made a mistake at, 5, 6 minutes in, because these were long songs, either it stayed in the song or I started the recording all over again.
Yeah.
And so I don't miss that kind of shit. And so I don't know if I don't think anymore that modern technology has made me lazy. It's just given me an opportunity to be better. If that makes sense.
No, it's a great way of looking at it. I mean, the ergonomics of it all makes sense as far as what you're talking about. Because I mean, I've kind of wondered about it. I personally don't want to make the shift ever with my album reviews. I like the idea of doing a single take and having the kind of conversational element there because to each their own, but I just think it's more engaging. But I've always wondered that, like, if I just sat there and did one take and just said the things that I wanted to say and then cut it up and clipped it up, would it take more time to do that, or would it take more time to sometimes do 40, 50 takes of an album review, which is the case. But no, I mean, you raise a really cool point there as far as, I mean, and building off that, I think, do you think in a lot of ways this could maybe be detrimental to bands coming up as far as trying to replicate that live performance when they do go out on the road?
I mean, it's only as detrimental as they allow it to be.
Yeah.
Live bands, if you're a live band that uh is going out on the road, I mean, you're a live band, you understand it, right? If you're what they call them nowadays, a producer, right? Some kid in his freaking basement with thousands of dollars worth of plugins and a really good head on their shoulders, and they're mixing and putting stuff together. Their performances are usually going out there and either just playing back what they've already done, or they're doing it on the fly, but they're so familiar with that method that um it would be just like a band that was learning their craft and learning their instrument and playing it over and over again. So the modern technology, the computer is just another instrument in the reality of it, if you think about it. Pads and people that finger drum and all that stuff, they're learning it. And these people that are cutting stuff up all the time and using samples and making songs and stuff like that, if they're tasked to go play live, a lot of really good ones, I mean, they can do it. So yeah, I think to answer your question, that went all over the rails. I'm sorry about that, but in reality, I think that I don't think it's detrimental to modern musicians, because if they are going out live, they it's the same thing. They have to learn the songs. They have to, you know, before they go out there and do it. So no, I don't think it's detrimental. I think it's an enhancement. And then at this point, yeah.
Excellent, my friend. Well, we're crossing the hour mark here. Try to, even with the stop and goes with the dog situations. I do want to give you a chance to talk about your new EP that's dropping here in what is it, next month in June, which is July?
July
It's July.
25th.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Depth. It is actually thematic. And as you know, we do listening parties at Wayfair. We get to basically anybody who's part of the Wayfair family, as well as all the artists, we get on and we listen to an album with the artist there, who's there to answer questions about the stuff and about the songs and all that stuff, and which is really cool. Like, when's the next time you're gonna get to the Lady Gaga to sit, and listen to her new album with, you know, 20 or 30 people in the rooms asking questions about what was your inspiration here? It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good for all of the artists and for us to, pat each other on the back and stuff like that, make you feel good. But there's some really good questions that come in. Anyway, so this one, there's definitely a theme to it. It's only a 5-song EP. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the listening party so I can explain. And those are open, by the way, to the public. So anybody who wants to go, they just follow Wayfarer on Bandcamp, and you get notified. We right now the release dates for the listening parties. They're doing one album a week. They're so prolific in releasing albums right now with all their artists. So
And we're
yeah,
doing
you
that
can
every
go
Wednesday night, right?
every Wednesday night and for a
Yeah.
release on Friday. Um, so yeah, the album's that's coming out July 25th, and then um, that's actually all music that I'd already written before. They're kind of placeholders for me to because I'm writing my full album. I'm writing that from scratch, and I keep asking Sean, I'm like, can we push that back a little bit? So that's one of the reasons I'm out here is trying to write some music out here in the middle of nowhere, and um, just set up my keyboard out here in the dark and just play some music, and it's kind of nice. So
Well, my friend, it's been great chatting with you. I noticed that the sun is starting to disappear there in the backdrop behind you, and
it's getting cold.
I, I say it's probably getting a little chilly. And I know you probably
Mhm.
plan on using the darkness as your muse, but maybe give you a little bit of daylight to work with as well, man. I can't thank you enough for joining me and talking
Sure.
about heroes, talking about depth, just talking about the Wayfarer family, and everything that you've experienced in your life. I appreciate our friendship. I think you're a fascinating dude, and I'm just really happy for you and where your career has gone here in the last couple of years, man.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Definitely, definitely. Well, everybody, it is that time. We're going to sign off here. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. We'll keep trying to do some more interviews over the course of I don't know, the rest of this channel. Like I would something I would like to do more. Hopefully, we can find some free time in the summer with the schedule lightening up. And in the meantime, just stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. Keep updated with everything, and we'll see you next time on the Beat Sessions.